Okay, Neil. Right, thanks very much for all that. Quick questions for you. Poker or horses, if you had to choose between the two?
Uh, I don't know. I mean, some days I wake up and it's poker. Other well, like like the day before the Cheltenham Festival is like Christmas, birthdays, everything. But then the day before Royal Ascot is the same, and the day before the World Series main event, the World Championships, the 10,000 buy-in event, is exactly the same. They're all things where I won't live long enough to enjoy enough of them, and I kind of want them to happen every day. So sometimes it's poker, sometimes it's horses. Uh, I guess when you're winning at either, it's that when it's a quiet Thursday at Southall, it's poker, and when it's some rubbish tournament at Luton, then it's horses. So they're both equal passions, I guess.
Okay, so just talking to you, you can tell that your brain is forever going, looking for new angles, new things. Or at least it seems like that. How do you ever manage to switch it off? How do you relax and forget it all about
I have
everything?
at home. My setup is a big kind of thing on one wall with TV screens and computer screens and piles and piles and piles of racing posts because I never throw them out until I've read them cover to cover, which means that I end up with 3-year-old racing posts that I read on train journeys occasionally and throw them out. I never really move from that spot from the time I wake up to the time I go to bed generally, unless I'm going out and doing something completely different. So in between races, I'm playing about with Twitter because I'm an addict of Twitter at Sensei Channing. Um, but I do like to sit back at the end of the day. Like yesterday, for example, I think I bet my first soccer match at 11 a.m. and the last one kicked off at 8 p.m. So about 10 p.m. I was done for the day, and I'd sweated every goal, which is bad, really. I mean, that's like not good for you, probably. But 10 p.m. I'd put a movie on. I like watching old movies, and that one was I don't know. It wasn't like it was quite a good movie actually. To Sir with Love from I think it's from the 70s or the late 60s. Somehow I hadn't seen it for years. I like to watch films that I've seen before, like something like Casablanca. I've probably seen that like 150 times, and I find that really relaxing. I love detective things as well. Morse is brilliant, and I've really enjoyed Endeavour. That's been great. Um, I'm rubbish with box sets. Like my missus will watch the latest stuff. I mean, I still haven't got around to Breaking Bad yet, so that's a bit poor.
Okay, and hopefully there's some aspiring young Neils who want to be professional gamblers watching these videos. What would your advice be to
Well,
those people?
Funny enough, I saw your thing you did about Big Deal, and I guess I was kind of an aspiring Robbie Box when I was younger. I mean, I was already that was my life basically. It was they suddenly made a TV show of my life. I think so anyway. I sort of remember it as being something that I didn't watch until I was already doing it. Although maybe I was still young at the time. I can't really remember now. Maybe I was only like 14 when it was happening. I'm not sure. Um, I would just generally say the same as my mum probably was thinking at the time I was watching Big Deal. Don't do it, because it's hard. And if you're smart enough to get a living out of gambling, you're probably smart enough to get way more money out of something else. Most of the people that have done really well in poker, sort of 5 years ago, have gone on to do something, maybe in the city or in business where they've made way more money because they have the right kind of brain to do that stuff. And I think that's quite a valuable lesson. But for me, I'm unemployed and unemployable. So I guess I'm going to stick with it. I have a friend who, he's kind of retirement age and he's still doing it and he's been doing it for years. And he's just going to do it till he drops. And I guess that's where I've got to now. I don't think, even though I'm probably going to live a few more years, uh, I can't really see me doing anything else now. And it's going to change a lot. The internet's changed it. Lots of the things that I'm doing now won't be around in 10 years' time. And maybe I'll run out of new angles and I'll have to think of. It'll be bad if I have to get a job at the age of 60. Um, I don't know. I don't. My advice would be try and do something else first and do it as a sideline, and write down all your bets, study how you're doing and how your bets have gone, and think about the sample size. Don't run before you can walk. Don't get carried away. 97% of people are losing, 3% are winning, and of the 3%, only about 20% of that 3% are making enough to make a living. If you're capable of being in the top 1,000 people in the country at something that takes a long time and a lot of effort to do, there's probably something else that pays more money than being a gambler.